failure to me is so gut-wrenching that it almost outweighs the joys of success. And that could be like a twisted way of looking at things, but I've always feared failure way more than I've enjoyed success. I'm not sure if that's healthy or even great for anybody else to hear, because I'm not sure that's the way it should be, but that's always what motivated me and what was the driving force behind trying to work so hard or trying to be successful, was that I just didn't want to fail. I didn't want to let down the scout that drafted me. I didn't want to let down the scouting director that drafted me. I didn't want to let down the general manager that was in charge when they drafted me. I didn't want to let down my minor league coaches that helped develop me.
I never saw pressure take over David Wright, never once. He was always in control of everything, played the same, regardless if it was Florida State League or in the big leagues. He was the same kid. He was the only player I've ever coached, maybe Robinson Cano, but that if you told David something, an adjustment between at-bats, even if it's slight, he would put it in play the next at-bat.
You knew he was going to be an impact player at some point in his career. It's just a matter of when he got there. You always think about a player like, okay, when you get to the big leagues, is he going to be able to hack it? Is he going to be able to do it? I don't think anybody in the organization had any doubts when he arrived.
First thing I remember about David Wright coming up in 2004 was his press conference when he arrived that day. They put him up at a podium, not a table, but a podium. And I just remember that at 21 years old, the self-confidence that he had in that opening press conference, he looked people in the eye, he held both hands on the podium, he leaned forward. It was like he was a 10-year veteran holding a news conference, not a kid coming up for his first day in the major leagues.
Guys that come to the game that have not only the athleticism and the ability, but also the instinctual nature to play the game kind of the right way. There's not a lot of those guys, and they stick out like a sore thumb, and he stuck out in that way.
He came to the table ready to work. You know, that's one thing I loved about him, that he had a great work ethic. David, you can tell, wanted to be best. He wanted to be the best. You can tell just by the way he went about his business, the questions he asked. You know, you could tell that he, like most players, you gotta hate to lose, man, but David had a passion for winning.
I didn't even know myself how I was gonna react to the successes or the failures in New York. Like, I could have, you know, had I had crazy immediate success, maybe, you know, I flame out. Like, had I had early failures, maybe I crawl into a hole somewhere and go away. Like, who knows? But it was, for me, it was the perfect storm. I didn't, having some failures in the minor leagues and some bumps in the road in the minor leagues, I think taught me in the baseball world adversity, where I feel bad for the young top prospects that get called up now and have never experienced any kind of, they've succeeded everywhere. Because at some point, you're gonna get humbled, and you don't wanna get humbled in the big leagues.
Most of the guys recognized that he was eager, he was respectful, he kept to himself, he worked hard, and he played well. And so it became easy for us to give him any, you know, sort of support that he needed, but it wasn't like somebody needed to take him out and show him the ropes.
Consistency of the way he went about his business, in his work, in his preparation, and also being able to divide the on-field distractions and the exterior distractions, right? He was able to block out the exterior distractions and be present in the moment and focus.
The whole point is, as a young player, you know, you need to listen way more than you talk. And I understood that, and I had great veteran presence that taught me these tools that, forget about baseball, just life in general, like, you know, listen.
Never changed. Never thought he was 0 for 20. Never thought he was 20 for 20. And I said, man, now that is legit a handful of dudes. I played with some that we could lose 12-0. You 4 for 4, you in great spirits. And to flip that same script, right? We win 13-0. You 0 for 4, you know, you see the character. He never wavered from that, ever.
David didn't take a lot of teaching. I mean, he just knew, you know, the right thing to do. He was No ego, team first, we, not I.
Jay, love him to death. You know he's one of my favorite people in the world, but Jay would be grabbing me to do an interview, or Jay would be grabbing me to do this or that. And Mike Karen would just say, let the boy play. Just like screaming at the time, just let the boy play, you know. And, you know, so like everybody, like I have a story about this for everybody, you know, Mike Stanton in the bullpen, you know, like Braden Looper in the bullpen, like just these stories of these veteran guys that took me under their wing and allowed me to play well because of how comfortably they treated me in the clubhouse.
There were times when rookies came up who were very cocky and thought they knew it all, and we just, you know, let them go to the side and figure it out themselves. But David was like a sponge. He was talking to guys, always learning things, asking questions. He gravitated to everybody like a sponge.
As players too, we understand what it takes to do it in New York. So what he did, obviously stat-wise and on the field, speaks for itself, but I think the way he was a leader, he carried himself, the things he did off the field, he just never got in trouble, he never did anything controversial. It's just hard to do for as long as he did it.
Camera near in 3, 2, 1.
I don't like being known as famous, or, you know, I don't like the whole celebrity aspect of baseball players that, you know, want to be in the gossip column. Like that's never been me. I don't want to be that. I've never wanted to be that. And I think that it took some getting used to of being recognized in public. It took some getting used to of, you know, knowing that wherever you go, especially like when we were winning and playing well, that you're going to be recognized, and it had nothing to do with the signing the autographs or taking the pictures. It had more so to do with just the uncomfortableness of causing like a bit of a scene or being the center of the attention. So I've always liked to more so just try to fit in and, you know, have normalcy, which it's normal. It's just I get more uncomfortable when, you know, I have to talk about myself, or, you know, have to feel like other people are looking, being like, you know, who is this guy that's taking pictures or signing autographs? Incredibly difficult to say no to really anybody that asks for anything. But I learned from some of the veterans and watching them and talking to them, and even talking with, you know, Jay and Ethan and Shannon, that, you know, sometimes it's okay to say no. Like sometimes it's necessary to say no. And I think that was an acquired skill that I had to learn, sometimes the hard way, where I felt like I wasn't properly preparing for a game because I was trying to be too accommodating.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, he probably said it a lot because I knew the demands were huge, but I saw a lot of yeses that I thought should have been nos. You're getting paid to play, man. You're getting paid to go prepare, get yourself ready to play. I used to tell them in spring training, because it was always a different atmosphere in spring training. We all love the fans. We love the Mets fans. They are some of the best baseball fans, but you got a job to do first. And when that job's over, go sign, go get pictures taken, but do your job first. Make no mistake, he got it. If something happened off the field, David would somehow, some way, find some time to talk to the person it happened to, and made it a point to say, it's not what we do here.
I think for me, it was always about trying to reach my God-given potential. Like, it wasn't so much trying to make as much money as I possibly could. You know, obviously when you're discussing contracts, that comes into play, but for me, it was always, can I challenge myself to the point where I can reach the ceiling of what I'm capable of doing? And I don't know if I can say that I did that, but I can say comfortably that I put in the work and the effort to reach the ceiling that I thought I could, and that I exceeded my wildest expectations playing baseball.